Mother Earth regularly wants to give messages. And in all honesty, if it was about me, you will never hear them. It is my wife, Jeannie Michaels, who has a deep connection with Mother Earth, warns me when she wants to say something, and records them. And that's why you're able to listen to these messages. She also asked me that I would show during the channeling a number of pictures of locations of they're called portals that bring in new energies. These are the new energies that Mother Earth is referring to, and while you're listening, you can watch as those different pictures and images and receive some of those energies that will help you to go through the transition. Now the channeling will follow. I'm aware that in some ways these are confusing times, especially for the people in your world, the fourth world. Or I should say my fourth world. Those who are, you can say, caught in the more physical aspects and have lost the ability to look beyond the physical to a very large degree. Oh yes, there are exceptions, but there are still exceptions. And even those exceptions are seeing only in a limited way. From a certain perspective, that is not a problem, because you have decided to live in this world, incarnate in this world, to fulfill a certain function. And things are shifting. And then it becomes more clear that in a time of shifting, you can say the limitations that were acceptable, let's say 20, 30 or more years ago, are suddenly creating challenges, sometimes even difficulties. And in addition, there are children born that have the ability to look beyond, see beyond, and that creates tension fields. And not every parent can understand what a child is saying because it goes beyond their perception system. The old is trying to maintain its hold, the new is insufficiently there, and there is this dynamic of change and transition that throws off a lot. And I understand that. And I need to say, this is a necessity. This is a necessity because without shaking the trees, the fruits will not fall down. Unless they're so overripe that you can't eat them anymore. So it is important to understand that it is time that you can say humanity is shaken up. The challenge is that even although you're shaken up, there is not, you can say, enough guidance to know which direction to go. There is so much confusion, there is so much information that for most people it is not easy to see the forest for the trees. And that is what you can feel when you tune in. Your world, that aspect that is connected to my physical system, is to some degree in, you can call it, in turmoil. But as a consequence, because as you know, the physical is through which the other energy bodies expressing themselves, it means that the other worlds are beginning to be affected increasingly. They were already, but in this time of transition, it is challenging actually for all worlds. You can also say it's challenging for me. Not that it is a problem for me, but it has, if I would give it human terms, uncomfortable aspects. It is pretty obvious for anybody who is looking beyond that humanity has damaged the physical system and is still damaging it. It is the reason why so many messages are coming in right now. And within the framework of my morphogenetic system, different beings are now allowed to do certain things in order to support you in this transition phase. From a human perspective, you would say these are agreements. From a conscious perspective, you can say it is simply flowing with what is. Those who have a connection with higher consciousness simply know that this is a time to do certain things that supports the transition process. It's not because it's somewhere in a book or somewhere written down as at this moment in the timeline that needs to happen. No, there is no book, there is no timeline. There simply is energy that is dynamically affecting other systems, and other systems are reacting, not reacting, they respond to it. They respond to it by knowing that supporting the process on Earth is actually supporting this whole solar system, is supporting the galaxy, is supporting this universe. There is no separation. And that makes this time from a consciousness perspective so interesting, because while you can say as a part of humanity you were pretty closed off from what was happening outside your fourth world, that is all changing. Whether you know it or not, you are affected. And then the reactions, internal reactions are coming. For some people it's too much, for some people they are thrown out of balance with all the consequences of that. But for some people it is like, oh, finally. This is why I incarnated in this world. I want to be part of this. And that's my invitation. Become a part of it. Don't fight it. Don't feel resistance. Open yourself. Then the journey will be far more pleasant and actually increasingly rewarding. The more people are willing to surrender to the flow of the inevitable change and transition, the faster the process goes, the easier the process will go, and the more rewarding for those who are part of it. There are many things happening, things beyond your perception, and you don't need to know them. But some of them, from a certain perspective, are, you may call, interesting. And you are aware that increasingly your family and the other star systems are getting involved in what's going on here. There's a long time that there was simply not an allowance to do so because your consciousness in this fourth world was not permitting it. You needed to reach a certain point. That point has been reached. That's why so much is coming in. That gives some discomfort, some joy. This kind of messages is what I like to share. I like to share them because it may grow the awareness, it may expand the willingness to open yourself, and it even may spark enthusiasm, even passion, in the sense of, wow, I like to work with this. When you feel that I want to work with this in whatever form, realize that one of the first steps you need to make is to connect with yourself, your condition, and what is, you can say, slowing down your process of evolution. That's your first goal. And the second goal is to help restore the disbalanced system of my physical body. And many are already working on that. And I'm deeply grateful for it. And yes, like to stimulate the expansion of that, because still a lot of work needs to be done. If you put everything together, if you really open yourself to the best of your ability for what's going on, you may feel a tremendous dynamic. But you also may feel that the dynamic in this moment feels chaotic. And it affects people, it affects sensitive people. It affects even nature. But it is a necessary step in the whole process. And the more from your heart you send love to the process and do what your heart guides you to do, you contribute in the most optimal way to this transition process. I cannot share with you in words my gratitude for those who are willing to truly contribute. But those who are contributing may feel my gratitude, may feel that I am aware now that through the work that you do, true change will happen. Much is in place and much is coming into place in the coming, you can say, short period of time, which in my form is a couple of years, that will set the stage for this transition phase that will take a couple of decades. Feel your connection and the choice you've made to be part of it, or you would not have incarnated in this time frame. I like to end this sharing with one saying, I'm deeply grateful for what you do and I love you unconditionally.